there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for what was supposed to be a therapy session. But no, we don't need a therapy session anymore now. I don't know what we're calling this, but mate, I am absolutely buzzing. Who knew winning a few games of football would help your mood this much, mate? I had a losing thumbnail literally ready. All of a sudden, Mudryk equalises. Oh my days, Mudryk! For the love of God, Mudryk! Who would have thought Mudryk? Petrovic, the penalty hero. Kieran Trippier must hate Stamford Bridge. What an absolute moron. And boy, are we lucky. Could have had about 4 yet red cards today. The goal that we conceded was probably the worst goal I've ever seen anyone concede. Ridiculous. But somehow we came through at the other side. And I reckon this win with Nkunku's debut, Mudryk last minute goal, for the confidence, for the optimism, for the vibes, my God, it could do wonders. But who knows? Let's not speak too soon. We might lose on Christmas Eve. But for now, we are in the Carabao Cup semi-finals and one step closer to a trophy and also European qualification. Adash, I'll start with you. First of all, thank you for joining me. Everybody, please hit the like button and put it in the chat if you're buzzing your tits off that we're in the semi-finals, because boy, I am happy. Adash, I assume you're also as happy. And shout out Aaron in the chat as well. Big up yourself and big up everybody else watching. Go on, Adash, sorry.
Oh, so happy, so relieved. I was telling Laurenz before I joined, I went from 0 to 100 so fast before that goal. Right before we scored that goal, I was like, why is nobody at the back post? And then Kieran Trippier did his Kieran Trippier thing, and then we scored, and then I was so relieved. I don't know the last time I've just been so happy and celebrated a goal that much. That was like proper vintage Chelsea, like, you know, leaving it to the last moment, and then in penalties, just absolutely Dorde Petrovic, my MLS hero, coming up clutch in the end.
I said something like, I don't know, is he going to be good enough? Hey, my guy has now as many penalty saves in his career as Sanchez. For Chelsea, I mean. Sorry, I think Petrovic actually has plenty from beforehand already. Oh, Bobby left. I'm sure he'll be back in a sec. But yeah, go on, sorry.
Kepa and Sanchez, it was all worth it. All the torture we had to go through was worth it in the end. We found our real Czech regen in Petrovic. I don't care. I'm so happy right now. Yeah.
Czech region. How'd you also a little bit, bro?
Mendy was just the precursor. Now we got the real one.
Exactly. I mean, apparently he had 5 penalty saves in the MLS already. I don't know if that's a lot or not a lot, but he's not that old. So 5 penalty saves.
My commentator said he was the quickest in MLS history to get to 5 penalty saves. So I assume he must be pretty good.
And I also felt like he had like the right idea of where he was going and the way he jumped. He had a lot of enthusiasm and like pizzazz in his jumping. Bobby, thank you for joining us. I appreciate you very much. My American boys, you know, when the English, it's too like, I got to work tomorrow. I'm at the game. I can't stream. The American boys fill in. Boys, I appreciate you both. Bobby, thank you for coming back on. Hey, it's been a miserable season, but days like this is why we're football fans, aren't we?
Yeah, it was definitely a much-needed lift for the whole season and the whole experience of being a Chelsea fan for the past 2 years, really. Because, you know, if we get a fortunate draw here, it's a pretty easy road to the final. You know, I mean, who knows? Maybe West Ham can knock out Liverpool, and then, I mean, I'd pick us against any of the Middlesbrough, Fulham, or West Ham. I'd pick us to win the whole thing. So it's definitely surprising. Like, I can't believe that we actually got here, but you know, the players came through at the end. Mudryk, huge goal, his best and biggest goal for Chelsea so far. Definitely screamed Mudryk and stood up in my chair after screaming for other reasons for about 90 minutes. But a great goal. Petrovic, you know, like you said, he did full send on that dive. That was a great save. It was so emphatic. Like, you know, when he did it, it was just like, holy shit. But yeah, it was awesome, man.
Like he didn't even realize that his save meant we won. I think in the first second, only when like his teammates kept running at him did he realize that he just won it for us.
Yeah, but great win, man. Great. Thanks for having me.
Hey, you're very welcome. Thank you for coming on. Ladies and gentlemen, like I say, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Today's a good day. Today's a good day, and I'm very, very happy. But that game, it could not have started any worse. I can't remember the minute we conceded in. But my God, that might be the worst goal I've ever seen anyone concede. And not in terms of, you know, there's a lot of bad, unlucky goals or bad refereeing mistake goals. But in terms of accumulation of outrageous defensive errors, I'm not sure I've ever seen anything worse. First, Cole passes it straight to the opponent, literally gifting them the counter-attack when all he wanted to do was build the attack back up because he ran up the pitch, realized I was kind of too crowded. Let me pass it straight to the opponent. Thiago Silva essentially wins the ball back. I don't even really understand how. Loses it again. Then Badiashile has the ball. You think perfectly comfortable. Tries to do some weird-ass Cruyff turn. Hits the ball against his own other leg and puts it back to Callum Wilson completely on his own in front of the goalkeeper in our own box. I've never seen anything like it. And the rest of the first half, it was a calamity. And also more injuries. I don't know what the Enzo situation is. Is he injured? Was he ill? I don't know. Kobo came off injured at halftime as well. So injury FC is real. But hey, we also played injury FC today. So at least it was fair on that occasion. But the second half, I can't even lie. Like, yeah, it was rough. And yeah, we were all complaining. And Bobby, you're not in our group chat. But I'm sure you were, saying similar things to us. Like complaining on literally everything. When you deep it, really, that second half was not bad. I know we only scored very late. But Newcastle defended with everything they've got. And everybody knows Newcastle are good at that. I think in general, we actually played a good second half. Should have scored sooner than we did. And in the end, I think we come away with this a deserving winner, if I'm being perfectly honest, because Newcastle scored one, but it couldn't have been a bigger gift. And they essentially didn't do anything else. So for me, as much as it was a bit lucky with obviously a Trippier mistake, and I guess we made a bad defensive mistake. Trippier helped us out and made one as well to give us that equaliser late on. But in my opinion, in the end, deserving winners. Adash, would you put it that way as well? Or do you think the adrenaline has gotten ahead of myself?
Yeah, I definitely think we were deserving winners by the end, especially if you just look at the pure statistics, we dominated. I think we had something like 6 or 7 shots to their 0 shots in the second half. We had over 70% possession. I think that's also the nature of how they were setting up, but I don't think we were undeserved winners at all. I think most of the frustration was from the fact that we didn't finish our chances and from the fact that we could be doing better. But that's not to say that in isolation that we shouldn't have won the game. I think we got the result that we deserved.
Yeah, I agree. Bobby, would you go along with that as well? As much as there was a lot of bad stuff in this game, particularly the first half, and obviously due to the season we've had, due to the last 2 years we've had, a lot of pent-up frustration from us. Do you still think overall it's a deserved win? You can disagree if you want to. No problem.
I feel like neither team deserved to win. Newcastle were terrible. Obviously, they have a lot of injuries, so they looked like a shell of themselves compared to what they were last month when we played them and got destroyed. But at the same time, it's not like we were setting the place on fire either. Like, we didn't create a lot of high probability chances or anything. We were just sitting on the ball a lot. I wasn't impressed with it. But at the end of the day, somebody's got to win, and we came up clutch at the end and had the composure for the penalty kicks, and Petrovic made a great save. So, you take what you can get, and we got at this point, that's definitely something we have to do. So pleased for the win, of course.
Absolutely. And I mean, obviously I was just going to say it's good to see and good to feel that with everything else that's changed, we have not become complete bottlers and still turn up in situations like this. But at the same time, the last few penalty shootouts we had were in cup finals with Thomas Tuchel and we lost them all. So maybe it's more the nostalgia that's telling me, oh yeah, we turn up at the big occasion.
Those were some great penalty shootouts though.
It's true. Absolutely. I have to say this
pens in and stuff.
All of our penalties tonight were absolutely brilliant. Every single one of them. We'll get through the take us later, but every single one of them was brilliant in my opinion. I will get the lineup up on screen just in a second's time because there are a few things that we do need to discuss because a few odd things happened in this game in terms of formation and in terms of tactics and lineup. But Adash, before I bring it up, you can already talk about it. The team coming out, it was essentially the same team that beat Sheffield United on the weekend, except that Enzo came in for Mudryk. But then it turned out it wasn't Gallagher back in the 10. No. Poch did what he did earlier in the season, and it already flopped early in the season and played Enzo as a number 10. And it didn't work. Again, he was subbed off early in the game for Armando Broja half an hour in. Unsure, at least for me, if any of you guys in the chat or you boys obviously know, please tell me if it's been confirmed that he's ill or injured or what happened. But yeah,
just said he's injured. He's ill. Sorry, not injured.
Is that been confirmed? Yeah.
Yeah, he said that.
Very good. Well, I mean, not great, but better than being injured, I guess. So I'm happy from that perspective. But yeah, what did you make of the team? Because boy, was weird. like I say, boy, it was weird. It was essentially what we played the whole time. Like Gusto, I guess, not ready to start, maybe. Obviously, the same for Nkunku in the end, at least making his debut. But what is he doing with this Enzo at 10 again? Like he did this early in the season and it didn't work so much. And now, months later, he's back to it. Like I can't understand how this happens.
Yeah, I don't understand. I don't understand how he arrived at the conclusion that that's what we should play. I mean, I don't think this like in terms of like the midfield. I mean, I have bigger issues in terms of like if he knew that Enzo was ill and still decided to go ahead and play him. Like you cannot risk that. You shouldn't risk that, in my opinion. But even if you do, like this is just not the way to set up that midfield three. We saw how invisible Enzo was. He was basically at times he was almost like he would have to drift into the left because when Sterling would drift central or would go out wide, Enzo was playing as almost like our left winger because of how deep Newcastle were, and that's just not where you're going to get the best out of Enzo. And I don't think we got the best out of Gallagher in those first half an hour until he made until that substitution was enforced upon him. So I don't know. I feel like it was kind of doomed to fail as it was, but then Enzo getting ill kind of almost like salvaged things in a sense because we didn't have to watch the atrocity that's Enzo at the 10 and Gallagher in a pivot.
Exactly, especially a not fully healthy or not fully fit Enzo. That makes it even worse. Now, Nathan Gissing during the game tweeted that apparently not only Enzo felt ill before the game, but wanted to play anyway. The same goes for Badiashile. Now, with Badiashile, I understand it a little bit more because if Gusto isn't fit to start, then, well, obviously there is always Martin, but Poch just plainly refuses to play him. So I've almost accepted that. But with the Enzo situation, you could have just started Mudryk and played Palmer as the 10. You could have just done that. Or if you wanted to, like you did after half an hour, play Jackson left wing and Broy up front. So there was options rather than having to play an ill player. I don't know. Like, obviously we don't know how ill they felt beforehand and if the players were adamant, no, I'm going to get through it and as soon as I'm on the pitch, I'm going to feel better, blah, blah, blah. Who knows, right? It's a bit difficult to judge from the outside. But in hindsight, when the player then needs to come off after half an hour, you can't exactly say it was a good or a right decision, can you? Bobby, thoughts on the team, on the lineup, and obviously then that where Enzo initially played and then having to come off because he was ill. What do you make of all
that? Terrible. Pochettino is driving me insane. He's also making it very difficult to defend him. I'm not going to defend him. I'm so tired of seeing this debauchery with lineups and Disasi right back when we have Gusto. If Gusto is healthy enough to come on at halftime, like, how are we not just put him out there from the beginning? Like, he looked fine to me, like the whole game. Like, I just think that it was very obvious to put him on.
I said the same thing after the Man United game with Reece James, and then Reece James got injured in the next game. So who knows, right?
Fair. I understand. I don't know the full details of the player's health, but let's say, why not start Ian Monson at left back? If Colwell today is injured, right? Like maybe he was feeling ill or he's got a lot of miles in the legs this year. Like why not play Ian Monson at left back? Like we needed someone on either flank that could at least threaten a little bit from wide, because all the ball was doing for the first 77 minutes was sitting in their half and going from like one flank to the other without anyone overlapping. It was over and over and over again. And I was sitting in my chair an hour before it happened. Just put on one of these guys at least. Sub them both in. Put Gusto right back, Matson left back, and get them overlapping because that's where the danger is going to come from.
And did you also see, sorry to interrupt you again, bro. Did you also see towards the end of the game when we did have that on the pitch, Matson left back, Gusto right back, how much our attacking output, we just became so much more threatening. It's not even that we had that many more men forward because Colwell and Disasi also got up the pitch. But the way the movements happen, the way the crosses happen, it's just night and day.
Yeah. Gusto basically assisted the goal.
Yeah, exactly, for sure. His ball from the right flank is, what came in for Mudryk to finish off when Trippier bundled it. But, that's the fullback situation, which to me drives me just as much as crazy as Enzo being used as a 10 when we have seen so many times this doesn't work. Gallagher was very good last game. His best game he's had probably in the past month. And he moved him back to a pivot next to Caicedo. I don't understand what Pochettino is doing. His player profiling is freaking garbage. It's the number one reason why I couldn't care less if he was sacked tomorrow morning.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, he isn't getting sacked now because we just won 2 games and qualified for a semi-final. But yeah, I am in agreement with this. Like, obviously, you weren't on here before on these streams, Bobby, and I don't know if you saw my tweets or any of the streams or whatever, but I've said kind of for a few weeks now, I don't want Poch here anymore. I want him gone. Even if I, logically thinking, understand that it's probably not really beneficial to sack another manager in the situation that the club has put itself in. If you look for another manager in the space of 3 years when all you've hailed and praised the whole time was a long-term project, that is its problem in and of itself. But Poch is creating problems for himself. Enzo as a 10, like you touched on, the fullbacks, the centre-backs and fullback situation. Like, he just does some strange things. But hey, at the end of the day, it's a weird one because the first half, yes, we were bad, but essentially, I mean, we didn't start well anyway. But that kind of goal happening, you can talk about tactics, you can talk about this, you can talk about that. It doesn't really matter. When you concede a goal like that, you're always going to be bad after. Now, I say you are. I mean that a team like us, like maybe a Man City, they can handle this. They brush it off at Liverpool, maybe, right? But us in the state that we're in, does it really surprise you that when you concede a goal like this, aside from the fact that obviously you should not concede a goal like this, but when you do, it's not exactly surprising that will, of course, have a negative impact on your performance. But we still should have scored. Gallagher hit the bar. Was that even before they scored? I can't even remember. It might have been. Sterling had a big chance where Bruno Guimaraes basically blocked it on the line. There was a couple of others. Jackson had one that he dragged wide. We should have already equalised in the first half, really. But then when you come to the second half, we just completely dominated. And again, like Bobby touched on, they have a lot of injuries, as do we, to be fair, but they have a lot of injuries. Also, Anthony Gordon. Is he called Anthony Gordon? I think so, yeah. Having to come off during the game, injured as well. But in the second half, we battered them. It just took us a very long time to score. Bobby, I'll stick with you for a second. I then go back to Ardash. Please walk me through your thoughts for that goal that we conceded. Before we get to more of the positive stuff and the penalties and Mudryk's goal and stuff, just for a second, because my God, I've very rarely seen anything worse ever.
Well, I mean, Disasi was actually overlapping, and he put the cross in that didn't get near any of our players. It was so far away from any of our players, it ended up on Levi Colwell's foot on the other flank.
Yeah.
So that was bad from the right back, in my opinion. Like, it was just not a good cross. And then
I'll be honest, bro, I don't remember that cross, but go on.
Disasi put it in, and it went all the way over to Levi. And Colwell gets on it, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, oh, he looks a little nervous. And then terrible pass back. So I'm like, in my head, like, oh, here we go. Another shit moment from Levi Colwell. People are going to be getting on him like crazy. And then running back, I'm like, oh no, Thiago Silva, slow, cooked. And then Badiashile, who usually is excellent on the ball. Like, Badiashile I'm very comfortable with him on the ball, but then terrible moment. And then, I mean, there's nothing that Petrovic could do in that. Like, it was a really nice finish. So yeah, just in my opinion, all 4 center backs played a part in that goal. Obviously, Badiashile was the worst, and but terrible moment from mainly 3 center backs, but it was just embarrassing. But at the same time, like, it's kind of what we expect at this point. How many times have we seen shit goals like that happen in the past year? Like, it's been so frustrating.
Literally. And even Thiago Silva, as great and as experienced as he is, I mean, he was probably the least bad mistake, if you include Disasi, I guess, least bad after Disasi, fair enough, of these 3 mistakes, but still, another big error. And remember Newcastle away, what he did there? Like, Thiago, what's going on? It is crazy. I mean, someone in the chat here said, wait, I've lost it again now. Where is it? Poch is so worried about height. That's what the text has said. Maybe that's part of why he's doing certain things, but surely rather than, I need to have, taller players, teach the players to make less stupid fouls. And then you have less set pieces to defend in the whole first place. Because in my opinion, the amount of attacking impetus that we lose when playing fullbacks at centre back is crazy. Now, one of them I already don't like, right? If you have one of them as a centre back and fullback, sorry. But 2? No, it's a joke. It's an absolute joke, and it cannot happen. Like, I know it's mostly due to injuries, but still, it just cannot happen. And, Cucurella is out for months now until February, potentially March. God knows when Ben Chilwell will come back. Now Colwell is injured. Will he now play Ian Martin? Or will we turn up at Wolves on Christmas Eve and play Badiashile left back? My God, I don't know. But yeah, in the grand scheme of things, I don't think Couture is necessarily wrong. Like, well, it's maybe an overstatement, but I don't think we played as badly as we felt, because obviously we went 1-0 down through a ridiculous goal. But if you take that goal out of it, our performance weren't bad. We had more chances than them. We dominated the game. We didn't give up any chances, really. We kept fighting. Like, the fight was good today. We played intelligently for the most part. Like, for example, that Gallagher yellow card fairly late in the game. I'm like, thank you. A couple of weeks ago, you were too stupid to do that at Everton. Now, at least you learned. Do you know what I mean? But Adash, I come to you. Please share your thoughts on that goal, because honestly, fair play to Bobby. I didn't even clock the Disasi cross, and that, literally meaning all 4 centre-backs to play in the back 4 playing a part in that outrageously bad goal. But have you ever seen anything worse than this? It's crazy.
I don't think so. I mean, it's really just a comedy of errors, I think. I mean, I don't understand. I still don't quite understand what happened between Caldwell misplacing the pass and Badiashile ruining it, because it was kind of just a pinball between all 3 of the players' legs: Callum Wilson, Thiago Silva, and Badiashile. And then somehow got to Badiashile, and then we're all like, okay, we're calm now. Badiashile's gonna, just like kick it out of play, or he's gonna pass it out wide or something. But then he decides to fall over, and then he reminded me of kind of like Kurt Zuma in those positions. He might have done something like that, but I don't know. In the end, it was absolutely. For me, all of the blame lies on Badiashile, because, like, regardless of the other mistakes that people have made, like,
it should
we
have
had
been
the
an
ball.
easy stop for him.
Yeah,
right?
We recovered possession again. So, like, I don't know. I wouldn't put too much blame on Colwell or Thiago Silva for that, but overall, everybody should have just been doing better. But luckily, in the end, it didn't cost us, because if that goal had cost us, I think we'd be looking at a much more different stream and a much more differently worded kind of outlook on the game.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. I do agree. I see a statement here by... I'll call you Beyond, shall I? He says, things take time, people. Anelka became a winger at Chelsea. Managers try shit. They coach players to try different positions. Pep is playing Ake at left back. See, fair enough, Beyond. But the problem here is it needs to work. Anelka on the wing worked. He was joint top goal scorer with Didier Drogba. Like, we ripped the league apart with ridiculous amounts of goals when we did that. Nathan Ake at left back for Man City, it won them the treble. You cannot compare this to what's happening with us, because we are shit doing it. You can't say, we're trying shit. Fair enough, try it a couple of times, but once you've tried it and you've seen it failed, stop trying it. I think that is quite relevant here. JC has put some interesting comments here through some sort of, I assume, Argentinian outlets. Says Enzo Fernandez has pubalgia. Don't know. Recovery is with rest or treatment to reduce the discomfort when playing and not affect it. And then he elaborates to say pubalgia is a chronic groin lesion. Athletes with pubalgia have an imbalance of the adductor and abdominal muscles at the pubis bone, I assume, that leads to an increase of the weakness of the posterior wall of the groin. Now, I don't know how accurate that is. If that is the case, we should never have signed him, because chronic, pubic bone issues are a serious problem. Like, there's been a few players over the years that have that, and it's something really, really difficult to recover from. As an example, Mason Mount is currently suffering from that. And that's why Mason Mount's been essentially injured for nearly a year straight. Obviously, with us, he's been injured before we sold him. Went to Man United, played a few games, and now he's been injured for God knows how long as well. I know he's on the bench as well often, but still, he also has pubic bone issues. So I hope this isn't true, because, well, Poch said after the game he felt ill. So I don't know where exactly this is coming from. But, hey, it's Pice's tweet, is it? Is it? How have I not seen this then?
Yeah.
Now I know what happened. Yesterday, what was I doing? I can't remember what I was doing, but I was doing something that meant I had to turn off notifications of Pice's tweets. And I was like, why am I not seeing any of these tweets anymore? There you go. Now I see them again. But yeah, shall we get into these player ratings? You know what? Actually, let's touch on this for a second. Before we get into all this, I guess we can touch on a few occasions when we get to these individual players. But boy, was that referee bad. Caicedo could have been sent off a minute into the game. Would have been a harsh red, but it could have been a red, right? Let's be clear. I think, who was the other one that could have had a red card for us? Colwell. again, would have been an unlucky one because he clearly didn't mean it. But the way he had studs up, jumped into Kraft on the floor, could have been a red card. How Bruno Guimaraes didn't get a red card for literally a kung fu UFC kick against Ian Martin is the most outrageous thing you'll ever see. Then Mudryk completely loses the plot, starts grabbing Guimaraes by the throat, only for a split second. So maybe it wasn't enough, I guess. And he didn't, he maybe attempted to, but didn't fully grab a hold of it. But even that, for intent, you'll have seen it given as red cards. So there literally could have been 4 red cards. There was also a handball by Dizazi in the first half when he deflected a shot wide. Now, he had the hands behind his back and then turned, and then it hit his arm. So I don't know if VAR would class as a penalty or not. But boy, does football not work without VAR anymore. And it doesn't even work with VAR. But without VAR, you do because you're a Chelsea fan today. If you were a Newcastle fan today and you saw that Caicedo tackle and you saw that Colwill tackle, you'd lose your mind over not having VAR today, because we could easily have been down to 9 men even. And then it's a very different game. But let's talk about this. I'll start with you, Adash. Thoughts on all these things? Do you think Caicedo could have had a red card? Do you think Colwill could have had a red card? And then obviously the Guimaraes one is the craziest one. I just can't, the ball was right there. How can the referee not see this? It's the most insane leg swing you'll ever see.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Caicedo could have been if I was a Newcastle fan, I would have been absolutely losing the plot at how Caicedo didn't get a red card. For me, I think that is a red card. That just the manner in which he went from behind and just kind of he hit him studs into the ankle. I think for me that's a red card. Colwill, I think that would have been extremely harsh. I mean, for me, Caicedo,
it would have been a harsh one, but
yeah.
Compare it to Malo Gusto's red card that he got.
Yeah.
I think this Colwill one is more of a red card than that Gusto one was.
Yeah. And for me, I mean, Caicedo could have even gotten a second yellow when he pushed Callum Wilson over, when he was on a yellow to begin with. And then obviously, I mean, Bruno Guimaraes, the less we talk about that, the better, because what on earth was he on about? But I mean, at the end of the day, I think the game was much smoother. So from that aspect, the VAR not being there definitely made it a more enjoyable watch overall. We didn't have 15 minutes of extra time. But I mean, the ref did have a shocker.
Yeah, but that's the problem. If referees were competent, I mean, obviously there's certain things referees will always miss. Yeah. I get that. Human error is part of the game. But it became so bad that VAR was inevitable and completely necessary. The problem is when the referees are this bad, well, then obviously you need to help them. The problem is the ones looking at extra screens, they're also really bad. So that's why we are where we are. Bobby, just quickly, thoughts on the ref and thought on these potential red card decisions?
I feel like I kind of disagree with you guys.
Okay, go on, please do.
Well, we keep saying that these cards could have been red. They were on that line. Maybe they were red, maybe they were yellow. I think in each situation, yellow was enough, because I'm on the side of I don't want referees, red cards, VAR determining outcomes. And if you give a red card, in the second minute of a match, you're having a heavy influence on the outcome of the match.
Of course.
So in my opinion, none of those were definitive, okay, that's a clear red card for me. And in that situation, I would rather the referee err on the side of, yellow. That's a caution. And yeah, so for me, I thought that it wasn't as badly refereed as you guys are saying. But, if obviously I was a Newcastle fan.
I agree with you in the sense that in the first 5 minutes, especially as a ref without having a replay, you need to be damn sure to send someone off in the first 5 minutes. So I agree with you from his perspective. It's an understandable decision to not give a red card. But I'm saying if VAR was there, I wouldn't be surprised if they overturned that. Again, not necessarily that that's always the correct decision, but I'm saying if there was VAR today, there could have been 3 or 4 red cards. That's what I'm trying to get at. Not that necessarily all of them are completely wrong, because obviously VAR's taken it too extreme. Yeah. I touched on that Malo Gusto one. No way should
not have been a red.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. For sure. What you're saying, they could have been reds due to VAR, but that's re-refereeing the game. And I want to stop re-refereeing the games. Let's just streamline this process. If it's clear and obvious error, change something. But other than that, just play the game out and let the players decide the outcome.
It's so simple for me. To me, all you need to do is start a challenge system like they have in tennis. And a certain number of times, the manager or captain, whatever, can ask the referee to review a situation, and that's it. Not whenever. Not like, oh, this we can change, this we can change. Let's have 1, 2 per half or something like that. Have a limit to it. Not whatever the situation is now. But let's not get too hung up on VAR because, my guys, we are in a cup semi-final. We won on penalties. Today's a good day. Like Joe said, let's just celebrate the win, lads. And like Sammy said, surprised some people still aren't subscribed. Ladies and gentlemen, hit that subscribe button right now. And now, boys, we're finally getting to these player ratings. Let's try not to take too long because it's already midnight for me. I don't want to be sat here all night on a Wednesday. But, well, Tuesday, but now it's turned Wednesday for me. So let's get through these. But as much as he was the final straw of the game, he is the first one in player ratings. And Dorde Petrovic, fair play. Fair play, my guy. Good game from him. Now, he didn't have to make any saves, really. I liked his passing from the back. Not that he tried anything outrageous, but he didn't make mistakes. Yes, maybe once he played it out of bounds. But I don't think Sanchez had a single game all season where he didn't pass it to the opponent at least once. Petrovic didn't do that once today. So, well done him. And he saves the decisive penalty. What a guy. With that said, I think he gets a 10. I mean, you literally saved the decisive penalty. Maybe I should say 9, but my God, how many times do goalies factually win games? So for me, give him a 10. Bobby, would you agree, or is that going over the mark a bit too much?
That's a bit high for me, just because I feel like if you get a 10, you need to obviously. A 10 would have been like he had 7 saves, kept us in the match throughout, had the save, etc., etc. He did have a save late on Mykhailo Mudryk. He had good positioning. I think it was in like the 88th or 89th minute or so. And he just caught the shot right away, didn't fumble it, didn't give anyone an opportunity for a rebound. So, but yeah, I thought obviously his goalkeeping for the penalties was really, really good. I was going to say an 8, but you're very excited and give it a 10. But I feel like, for me, like based on that performance, I thought it was around an 8.
An 8. Fair enough. Maybe I've gone a bit too high, but I'll be honest. I'll stick with it because, hey, I'll be happy today and I'll be extra positive. But it's good, Bobby, that you bring us back down to reality a little bit. I can't even talk anymore. Will have us have more balanced ratings in the end. Aldash, an 8 from Bobby, a 10 from me. What are you going to give Petrovic today?
25.
All right, then.
I'm going full on positivity. I mean, no, but seriously, I think like you mentioned, I think you just hit the nail on the head in terms of didn't really have much to do apart from that one save. He made that save comfortably. What I like about Petrovic is that I don't feel like he's gonna try anything too risky. At least when he's in net, I feel like if things get too risky, he will clear the ball. But he also has good distribution so that he has the ability to kind of ping a few passes and do things. And then that penalty save, I mean, that's not easy. I don't remember. I mean, it's difficult for keepers to get there to the ball itself, but especially when the ball is at that height, to generate the speed to be able to get to the ball and save it. Like, fair play to him. So I'm probably going to go to a 10. So, because, I mean, I don't know what else he could have done in the game necessarily. I mean, he did so well under pressure. This is his second start. Is this his second start? This is his second start for Chelsea, right? Yeah, I mean, under the lights, in front of the Newcastle end, that's not easy. And so for him to pull that save out of the bag, I mean, fair play. So I'm going to give him a 10.
Fair dues. Overall, still leaving us at a 9, but 2 10s given for Petrovic. And again, I'm still happy that Bobby is keeping a little bit of realism in here. And Joel makes a good point, by the way. Can I remind everyone, we just knocked out the team that knocked out Man City and Man United. To be fair to us, we did do that. So big up us. And yes, Pisces come out with some sort of transfer, rumor, news, whatever you want to call it. But honestly, I don't care. It's another child defensive midfield. I have enough of them. I don't care. Anyway, we move on to the defenders, shall we? Shall we start with Badiashile? Because not only did he have an absolutely ginormous howler for that goal we conceded, he was generally a bit nervy today. Again, Nathan Gissing reported during the game that he felt ill ahead of the game, but wanted to play anyway. Now, for his overall performance, maybe that is a slight bit of an excuse that I will give him. But for the goal mistake itself, absolutely not. Like, whether you feel ill or not, that is not an excuse to play the ball with one foot against your other leg and then allow the opponent to be in front of goal on his own. Like, no, I don't care how unwell you feel. If you feel well enough to stand, run, and, well, be there, then you're also well enough to not make that mistake. In the grand scheme of things, maybe it affected him a little bit because he was a bit more nervy and slow and, I don't know, lethargic than he's usually. But because the mistake was so bad, and essentially Newcastle didn't even really challenge our defenders much, if we're being honest, because they were 1-0 up and all they tried to do is defend that lead. If the game had stayed 0-0 for longer, I'm sure they would have attacked more and that would have been a very different game. But the way it was, Badiashile didn't really have to do much other than the goal and one or two other occasions. And on most of those other occasions, he wasn't particularly good as well. So I'm going to give him like a 2, and maybe that's already being nice. And it's only because we still won. If we lost this game 1-0, well, I would have given him a 0, but that wouldn't have been enough because it doesn't really get any worse than this. So I'll say 2, but hey, maybe you guys see it differently. I'll go to Adash first here. How do you assess this one?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult because, like you said, I mean, I think I agree exactly with your ratings. I'm going to give him a 2 now. But if we had lost that game, I would have given him a 0 without any hesitation because he cost us the cup. But I feel like, I don't know. I feel like the injury or the illness isn't necessarily an excuse because you should feel it. And like Enzo felt it. And so he asked to be subbed off. So either you feel fit enough to play or you don't. And that's both on the manager and the player for me. But I think, yeah, today just didn't look his usual self. Throughout, I felt like he was just getting bodied by Callum Wilson. But again, it could be just down to the illness. And I still think he is probably our best center back, all things considered at the end of the day. And I still have a lot of faith in him. But just today, I feel like he had several moments where he just lost his concentration, or if he kind of lost track of where he was in the pitch. So I would probably go for a 2 as well.
There you go. The chat is very, very unhappy with me, or now us, with that rating. Typical reactionary Chelsea fan. This is a ridiculous rating. It's mental. Guys, I don't know if it's just because you like Badiashile so much or if it's because we won, but we've been way harsher for way lesser mistakes. Like, I mean, maybe you've had a go at us every time back then as well. But yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, we've been harsher on other players, like, for a lot. By the way,
I still want him starting next game. I still think
he's made a really bad mistake that should never happen. And if we don't get lucky due to that Trippier mistake and the Mudryk finish, we lose this game because of it. And
for me, this is genuinely like a case of like a Thiago Silva versus West Brom or some kind of thing. It's like a small blip, but you have to acknowledge that the performance wasn't good enough because that's not up to his usual standard. We can't simply accept that this is his usual standard now because it's not, because we know he's so much better and he's capable of so much more. So I expect him to go back to his usual form, in which case he is our best center back, and in which case I'll go back to loving him.
Exactly. I mean, Joel says, no, it's a big mistake, but the rest of his match was fine. And did you see his passing through the mid? No, I don't think the rest of this match was fine. I think there was moments where he did really bad things, where he misjudged the ball, was lucky that he still got on the ball after or someone else cleaned up for him. He gave the ball away in build-up on a couple of occasions and Newcastle just didn't do anything with it. He still, I agree, had some good passes, but that's why I give him a 2, not a 0. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't say, he should have a 4. No, if he didn't have a decent game outside of the mistake, he would have got a 0. Now he's getting a 2. I'll let you have it because, I don't want to upset my chat too much. I'll raise mine to a 3. But I'm not giving you more than a 3. 3 is the max you'll get, guys, okay? Adash, you can, of course, stick with your 2, and I'll ask Bobby what he thinks, and then we'll see what medium we can find. Bobby, do you think we've gone mental? Do you actually agree with us? Do you agree with the chat? How do you see it?
No, I think he was a 3. I've seen 0s and 1s on this rating board for Lukaku, Havertz, how many times for missed chances? Like, I mean, a 3, like, he essentially gave them the goal that almost determined the outcome of the game and ended our run in this cup. So, yeah, it was a very bad moment from him. Probably his worst moment. Definitely his worst moment at Chelsea shirt. But I also have seen his distribution from midfield. He's the best center back we have on the ball. Levi Colwill, if he was playing left center back, is in that conversation too.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I mean, I know Benoit's a really, really good player, but in my opinion today, it wasn't just that moment. He had multiple nervy moments in the first half. And in the second half, we played a lot better, and we just swarmed Newcastle so much they barely had the ball. So, yeah, in my opinion, it was just not a very good performance. It was a really, really bad error that led to a goal that almost knocked us out. So, yeah, the max I can give him is a 3.
There you go. Fair enough. It's 2 3s and 1 2 then, leaving us at a 2.5. And yes, Joel, to be fair, you are literally paying for this channel with your membership. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to become a member as well, link is down in the description. So yeah, see, I had to raise it a little bit for Joel. And Craigo, shout out you. I hope you're having a good time in Milan. I'm not sure how much longer you're staying, but get in there, man. Get in there. I'm buzzing. I am buzzing. Let's move on to Thiago Silva, the other centre-back. Also had his hand or feet in that goal we conceded. I will also say he played a few absolutely astounding over-the-top balls today. Most of the times the recipient was offside. Sometimes that was on the recipient, in my opinion. Sometimes it was also maybe less so for Thiago's passes, but on a few of the others, I also felt the pass just came too late rather than it being a bad run, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Thiago Silva, also a mistake, but a little bit less of a mistake. So I'm going to give him a 4. Well, initially I would have given him a 3 with Badiashile's 2, but now that I gave Badiashile a 3, I'll give Thiago Silva a 4. And yeah, people will probably say that's way too nice, way too harsh as well. I don't care. They all fucked up for that goal and had fuck all to do otherwise. You lot are just way too nice on defenders when we have an opponent that doesn't try to score against us. You want to give them all 7s and 8s the whole time. You lot are mental, in my opinion. Like, they're shit. We build up like an absolute bunch of clowns other than 3 good passes in the whole game. Like, no, we need to have some pace. They were all slow, mate. It's like a fucking snail sat on top of each of one of those heads. It's crazy. But, yeah, I'm going to say 4. You guys can hate me for it. Hey, watch this goal back, guys. It's the worst goal I've ever seen. It's the worst goal I've ever seen. And you guys want to give out 7s. It's mental to me. But anyway, maybe I'm the weird guy. Who knows? Bobby, I'll let you go first at this one. Am I too harsh on Silva? Or do you agree?
I feel like I'm just like one number ahead of you in all these because I felt he was a 5. You know, obviously, like he played a role in that goal as well, but it wasn't as awful as Badiashile just, handing Wilson back the ball. But, his overall game, aside from that, I thought was pretty good. Like you said, he had multiple really nice passes today that almost came off, particularly one in the second half that went to Gusto when he was at left back. Gusto was just offside, but it was into the box, and it was a pinged long ball by Thiago Silva. It was beautiful. Really wish that Gusto was onside. But, yeah, I just thought, aside from that moment, he was pretty good today. So I typically would have probably gave him like a 6 or 7. But, yeah, with his hand in that goal where he didn't necessarily do very well, I thought he was a 5 today.
Fair enough. Like, I'm not saying a 5 is absolutely outrageous, but anyone saying 6 or higher to me is a little bit ridiculous. You can't be part of a goal like this and get an average rating. That's insane for me. But anyway, people think I'm insane. That's okay. It's okay to disagree, people. That's important to learn in life. Adash, a 4 from myself, a 5 from Bobby. What would you give Thiago?
Well, I'm actually going to be insane then because I'm going to give him a 6, actually.
Ooh,
I feel like... Because, to me, I felt like I'm putting that goal solely on Badiashile because we recovered the ball. And so, to me, there's nothing that Thiago Silva can do after that point to stop us from conceding because the ball was back with the Chelsea player.
Thiago had also recovered the ball and gave it away again. So first Kobe lost it, then Thiago regained it and also lost it again.
I just watched the goal back, and I don't think he had possession. Like, it was more of like the ball pinballing around where he couldn't really do anything about it.
Really?
So basically, Callum Wilson...
Maybe then I am too harsh. If what you're saying is true, then maybe I am too harsh.
Yeah, let me try and find the goal again. So,
keep finishing what you're saying and then tell me the link. Don't stress me.
Yeah. So essentially, I think what I believe happened was Callum Wilson kicked it against Thiago Silva, and then it went back onto Wilson. And then that's when Badiashile got the ball, and then he gave it back to Wilson. And so I think for that goal, I'm putting far more of the blame on Badiashile. And then I think to touch on Silva's positive points, I think, first of all, his passing. Some of his passes were outrageous, reminiscent of what he used to do for us. And I think that's something that added a real positive element in terms of like being able to build up and being able to catch them out, because when they would sit in a low block, it was extremely difficult for us to break it down. But I also think Thiago Silva came in clutch like at least 2 times to memory. Once against Anthony Gordon when he was in on a counterattack, and then he like made a sliding tackle. And then near the end of the game again with when Livramento was running down the wing, and then Silva just got a toe to it to stop him from basically having a one-on-one with the keeper. So I think in those senses, Thiago Silva also had a really good game, and he made a lot of important defensive contributions. So even if you penalize him for the goal, I feel like overall going with a 6 would be pretty fair.
Fair enough. You can send me that link now. I will watch the go back as we talk through others, and maybe I will adjust my rating for Thiago Silva. I'll let you guys have it. You know what I mean? But we'll get to Levi Colwill, and I'm back to my low ratings. First of all, he started that whole thing with that conceding that goal. He, again, maybe not should have been sent off, but could have been sent off. Just don't go studs first into people. Just please. We have so many injuries. I mean, now he got injured as well, but we have so many injuries, and we've had so many suspensions. We need to stop having players suspended. It's outrageous how many times this has happened to us this season. So we need to just be a bit more careful on these things. There was moments that I liked from Colwill in terms of he was pretty like aggressive against their right winger at times. I did enjoy that. But there was a few poor passes. There was some poor attempts at getting forward. I know this is because they're centre-back playing left-back, and this shouldn't be the case anyway. But I also think he attacked worse than Disasi. Now, of course, he only played the first half, and we were much better in the second half, so that will, of course, have an effect on everyone rather than it being an individual's fault. But I probably would have given Colwill a 3. Yeah, but to be honest, maybe I'll raise it to a 4 because I raised Big Ben to a 3 as well. Initially, I had Badiashile at a 2, Colwill at a 3. I guess I'll give him a 4 now. But still, there was all bad. A lot of them was all bad. So, yeah. But I do find it hilarious that for him, we're fine with the 3.4, which is the one guy that's playing out of position. Yeah, let's give him a low rating. But the guys playing in their position and can't do anything right, they get 7s. I don't understand. But anyway, I will now watch this back. And get, maybe change my mind on Thiago Silva. Bobby, I'll let you go first. So far, you've always gone one higher than myself, except on Big Ben in the end, but initially. What about with Colwill? What would you give him?
Technically, the same. I would have given him a 4, but you were technically kind of a 3. So It's the same situation again. For me, it was a 4. His pass backwards is what put Silva and Benoit in that really difficult position. And, he got subbed off at halftime due to illness, injury, tired legs. I don't know. But, overall, I just didn't think it was his best work by any stretch of the imagination. I do know you mentioned his ball carrying, his progressive carries today. I believe he had 2 long marauding runs from the back where he looked pretty good, but it didn't really amount to much. He didn't have any really good defensive moments that I can remember off the top of my head. I just think overall he was definitely below average today, and 4 is a fair rating in my opinion.
Fair dues. I have now seen it go back. I agree. I was too harsh on Thiago Silva. I shall not give him a 4. I actually felt he had more control of that ball than he did. My apologies. The question is, how high do I raise that now? Do I give him a 5? Do I give him like a 5.5 or something? I don't really know, if I'm being perfectly honest. Because he really couldn't do much about it. If anything, he did well to get as much of a foot in it as he did, and it kind of helped Badiashile get the ball. So as much as we're now making you look like the harsh one, Bobby, I think I might even raise it as high as 6. And I know that makes me look like a bit of a mug right now. But I literally thought he had the ball. I don't know why I saw it so wrong. My apologies again. But I literally thought he had the ball and bottled it, but he didn't. So then obviously I can't be that harsh. I say 5.5 just to knock out 2 overboard, to jump by 2. But yeah, I'll raise mine to a 5.5. And go up a little bit. There you go. YouTube Premium is the way. No ads. Yeah, but YouTube Premium it's a bit expensive. So I understand if you guys don't want to use it. But YouTube Premium actually gets content creators more money than the ads do. So, if that is part of your thinking, consider it. There you go. Levi Colwill, 2.4 so far. Let's get back to him. Adash, what would you give Levi? Some people in the chat want to say 2.5. What do you think?
I'm going to go exactly the same. Make it a clean sweep with a 4. I thought, again, nothing that I can't say that I haven't already said. I mean, he's playing out of position, and it's not just a case that he's bad at left back, but we're limiting his capabilities so much at left back that I just can't understand why we're doing it, especially when we have 2 players who are potentially capable of playing playing in that same position who would have a higher output, as we saw when Gusto came on and then when Matson came on again. He was definitely at fault for the goal. At least he showed that he cared, and he was kind of at least trying in the first half, which some players actually weren't. But apart from that, that's where the good things ended for Colwill today. So I'm gonna stick with the 4, I guess.
Fair dues. Let's move on to Axel Disasi then on the other side. I try to keep it a little bit quicker. Honestly, outside of Bobby earlier mentioning that his cross started the whole goal sequence, I actually thought it was pretty decent. I quite liked him in possession in the sense that he receives the ball, like he had some good touches, but when he receives the ball, he isn't like this clunky centre-back who doesn't realize how to do an offensive pass anymore. Played a really good through ball to Jackson early in the game. Also, when he had the ball under pressure, he didn't necessarily give it away, found someone to pass it to. Again, he's of course not right back that will play a wonderful cross after wonderful cross. Of course not. But in the grand scheme of things, I think he did pretty all right. I don't really remember Newcastle. Well, they never attacked down his side, really. I mean, there was a few occasions when, like, Adash touched on it, Thiago Silva shifted over to the right and cleaned up, but that's because Disasi pushed high up the pitch. It happens with every right back. So I'm thinking like 6 or 6.5. Maybe I'll say 6.5, Bobby, what would you give Disasi? Am I being too nice here? Now I've gone higher than some other people. What's happening?
I think Bobby's.
Sorry. I should have read the private chat. Adash, you go.
I'm back.
Oh,
okay. You can go then, Bobby. I gave Disasi a 6.5.
6.5. What?
Okay. I mean, I guess you didn't hear my explanation. What I said is, I thought his passing was pretty good. Like that through ball to Jackson that he had. Again, he's not going to cross like Reece James, but he's a bloody 6'5" centre-back. Of course he's not going to cross like Reece James. But I think in the grand scheme of things, for how I see him as this clunky centre-back, I think he moved pretty well. I think he found passes, rarely gave the ball away. But how much do you disagree by, man?
I suppose maybe my way of thinking is unfair to him because he's a centre-back playing right back. But his presence on the field was limiting our attack for most of the game just because he couldn't overlap. He did a couple of times, but he obviously wasn't very good doing it. He did have that really nice pass in the first half to Jackson. I was shocked. Like when he played that, I was like, Disasi, whoa, that almost worked out. But I suppose maybe like defensively, he didn't have any major errors. He was pretty solid. I just feel like just the whole right center back playing right back thing is kind of influencing my opinion of him today. But I just feel a 5.5 is probably fair. I feel like he was the best center back that we had, or best defender we had today.
Yeah.
But his presence, like where he was limiting how we were able to play.
100%. Maybe on that basis, I did go a little too high. Maybe I gave him a bit too much like out of position credit, I guess. But yeah, I was deciding between a 6 and a 6.5, I suppose. So far, leaving us at a 6 and going to Adash. Would you leave it at a 6 for us, or are you going for something different?
Yeah, for me, I think I'm just gonna leave it at a 6 there. I think just this overall kind of average performance, nothing that I would expect. Kind of over average and an above average performance if you consider that he's actually a center back playing at right back for me. But I think kind of just overall, I'll give him a 6. I think he was comfortable in possession. He made a really good pass to Jackson at the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
And similarly, he was just kind of on it in terms of possession, and he was at least trying to be offensive, even if some of his crosses kind of didn't go anywhere or weren't threatening at all. But I think overall, just a decent performance.
There you go. I'm very confused by some of these comments because Disasi did not contribute to anything unlike Silva. What did Silva contribute to other than the goal we conceded? Like, yeah, he played some nice passes, but they didn't lead to anything. So how did he contribute in that sense? Like, Disasi also played Jackson in really nicely. That was a better chance, arguably, than Thiago's. I guess if the guy stayed on side, it's a different story. But yeah, a bit strange. Anyways, leaving us at a 6, let's go to a bit more of a positive note, shall we? We start with Caicedo. I'm never sure what I make of Caicedo. There's moments where I like him. There's moments where I don't really understand why he doesn't do things more. But today, for me, was one of his better games for Chelsea, if I'm being perfectly honest. I thought his passing was pretty good. He passed forward a lot, which I like. He had some, nice interplays with players around him as well, like the Sterling occasion in the first half. His tackling was decent. He won 7 out of 9 ground duels. Can't complain about that in the slightest. 3 out of 4 tackles won as well. 3 out of 4 long balls as well. That's a really good game from Caicedo, honestly. It's difficult because the first half was still poor overall. So, I don't want to go too high, but 7, maybe 7.5, 8, something in that region. I'm thinking. I'll say, you know what? I'll say 7.5. And I'll see what you boys say. Maybe my opinion can be slightly changed, but I'll go with 7.5 for now. Adash, I'll go with you first. What would you give Caicedo?
I think it's difficult. Similar to you, I think Caicedo's games are very polarizing for me. There's a lot of moments. I think today was actually one of his better games. He was kind of all over the place in terms of getting the ball back and recovering. He was making a lot of interceptions and actually getting stuck in. Whereas previously I've seen that he kind of just bounces off other attackers usually. Whereas today he was actually winning the ball back, which is fair enough. Somebody mentioned kicking the ball out of play, which I don't know. I feel like it can go either way. I wouldn't count that as part of his rating because it kind of, for me personally, if we're losing and it's not a head injury, I don't necessarily want them kicking the ball out of play, especially because Gordon walked off the pitch right after that. But I don't think it's that big of a deal in any case. Apart from that, I think he had some mistakes. I think for the goal, wasn't really anything he could do. Maybe he tried to reach for the ball when he clearly couldn't get to it. So instead of reaching for the ball, maybe just try and run back. But I don't know how much you can hold that against.
He sees the ball, tries to go for it, probably realized too late he couldn't get it, I suppose. But
but I wouldn't hold that against him. I'll go for a 7, maybe a little bit lower than a 7.5. But yeah,
it's some interesting. A lot of people do seem to be in really a similar region as us on this one. Varna is very unhappy with us regardless. Riz saying he releases the ball too early too often. Someone also said he seems better without Enzo. I don't think it's necessarily an Enzo thing. I think he's just better on his own rather than in a double pivot, because then it's a bit like Kante, where then he has the freedom to go left and right. And if he's limited to this is my side, this is your side, you almost take something away from them that they can do. Maybe that's it. Again, this isn't a full-blown conclusion for myself, it's just a thought. But yeah, a 7 and a 7.5 so far. Bobby, what would you give Caicedo?
I thought 6.5.
Okay.
Yeah, but at the same time, I do appreciate what he was today, especially if you look at his touches and how little he lost possession. See, last match, I thought he was really good. I thought last match he was actually pushing an 8. And today, the early tackle, which could have been a red, I forgot about that again. That was a pretty bad moment. Definitely, a little scary. I'll go down
to a 7 again. I forgot about
that. That was not good.
Yeah.
And then I just don't know how, progressing the ball today. I'd be curious to see the advanced metrics that come out tomorrow or something. But I just feel like he wasn't overly efficient at advancing the ball today. It was kind of more of a sideways situation. I do want to talk about he's so good at ground duels, and when he's on the ball and he's facing the opponent goal, he is so hard to take off the ball, where he's able to dictate and control matches because of how efficient he is on the ball when he's able to face the goal, and also his ability to cover ground and win ground duels. If you notice,
Sounds like you're explaining Kante, really.
Yeah, they're able to control matches just by their presence, ability to cover ground, and just constantly be sound in possession and win the ball back.
Which is why he needs to get on the ball, because I think until the last game, I agree with you, especially second half against Sheffield United, he was very good. But the few games before that, I just felt he didn't get on the ball anywhere near enough. And like you touched on, he needs to in a way be at his best. Obviously, defensively, it's a bit different. I think he's had a few defensive issues where I'm sometimes he just comes out with tackles in that 5th minute today, where I'm bro, just be careful. And I'm not saying too many tackles where he could have been sent off necessarily, but just too many silly tackles where I'm you're good at tackling, what? How does this happen to you? Do you know what I mean? But when you get them on the ball more, I don't know, because they're footballers, and the better a footballer is, the more at ease they will feel, the more they will have the ball. So just give these guys the ball, and the more comfortable they feel at Chelsea, at the club, on the pitch. It's just my thinking.
Yeah, I think he's coming into his own, in my opinion. These last few weeks, I think he's starting to get comfortable at Chelsea, and I'm pretty confident in how he's going to be playing by the end of the season. Just one last thing on him. I believe part of the reason why he kicked the ball out is because he's the one that hurt Anthony Gordon.
Yeah, I agree.
I felt like maybe he just felt a little bit of sympathy in that situation, and that maybe it played a factor in him kicking the ball out.
There you go. No, I do agree. It's a tough one. I know Adash touched on it. I said in our group chat, I kind of respect it. Like, I get why it annoys people, but I'm also like, Kante would have done that too. You know what I mean? And I'm like, you know, like, I know the others aren't going to do it, but if everyone acted like Caicedo did, football would be a lot nicer of a place. I know the others don't, and that's why it's almost stupid that he did it, because they probably wouldn't have done it if we had to play it down. But, you know, sets an example. So I get that people get annoyed by it, and in some other occasions, I also get annoyed by these things. But we weren't really anywhere near their goal. Like, so I'm like, who cares? Play it out and go again. But I understand that it annoys some people as well. I get that. But yeah, I'll take mine down to a 7, which overall still leaves us at a 7, obviously. But yeah, I did forget about the potential red card tackle in the beginning. Let's get to Conor Gallagher then. Officially, or according to FotMob at least, he won man of the match with a rating of 8.3, had a 91% pass completion rate with 105 of 115, 2 out of 3 successful dribbles, 5 out of 5 successful long balls. Bloody hell, fair play. 3 out of 3 tackles, 6 out of 12 long ground duels. Not amazing, but the further up the pitch you go, the more difficult it gets. But obviously, he didn't always play high up the pitch, so it's a bit of a question mark, I suppose. Also, 3 out of 3 aero duels, nearly scored with the absolute beauty of a card against the bar early on in the game. Had another occasion where I feel like he could have scored, but him and Broya kind of stood in each other's way, and then he didn't get a nice shot away. I thought he was pretty good, and in particular in the first half, I thought he was by far our best player, because he seemed to be the only one he tried to, like, he was very vocal. He was very, like, trying to push his teammates. He was very aggressive, but without being stupid, like he was, for example, against who was that against? Brighton? Was it Brighton that he got sent off against? I think it might have been. Whatever game it was. The game he got sent off with 2 yellow cards in. Overall, because in the second half, I think Caicedo didn't stood out more. I'd probably give him the same, but I think it is reasonable to give them the same ratings. Obviously, they do different things, but I think in terms of matching Newcastle's intensity and physicalness, is that a word? Whatever. Physicality in midfield, I should say. I think he played a big role today. And also, I like how he's as a captain. Also took his penalty very well. We're now getting to the ones that did take penalties. Took it very well. Top corner. Very happy. So yeah, I'm going to say 7. I guess you could do 6.5 or something. Maybe even up to a 7.5. But in that realm, I think is about right. Bobby, why don't you go first on this? Or before Adash anyway, on this one. Do you think it's about right? Too high? Too low? What do you think? There's a lot of different ratings in the chat. I've seen 5s, 7s, 8s, 6.5s. Very spread on this one.
I think it was a 6.5.
Okay.
Same as Caicedo, but they were different. Like they had different roles, obviously. I just feel like he definitely did a lot of good things in midfield today, but around the box, he wasn't overly good today. Some of his passing was suspect. He had a very nice shot in the first half that hit the woodwork that almost went in. But he also had a couple of really poor shots, including like one in the second half that I feel like was 6 yards wide of the post. So yeah, I just feel like his work around the box wasn't sharp today. So I kind of knock him for that. But, overall, I thought it was a good performance from him again. I would like to see him in the advanced 10 role more, though. Like, not, he was solid in the pivot today, but I just think you're going to get the best out of this player as the advanced 10. You're going to get the best out of Enzo, playing deeper, further back not by himself, though. Like last year, Enzo playing with Lampard, like he was better, but so many times he was isolated back there where we were exposed and stuff like that. But going into the Enzo talk. But anyways, back to Gallagher. Yeah, to me, it was a 6.5 performance today. Solid, but just not sound enough around the box. So 6.5.
Fair dues, fair dues. I will touch on what you talked about with Enzo when we get to Enzo in a second. But finish it off on Gallagher for us, Adash. A 7 and a 6.5. What would you give him?
I'm actually going to go much higher. I'm going to give him an 8. And I thought he was very good today. I think maybe I may also be a little bit biased because over the last week I've been defending Gallagher a lot for people.
Rightly so, by the way.
Yeah, with people saying we should sell him, and I just absolutely wholeheartedly disagree with that. But even just looking at today's performance, I think he was very good. I think particularly in the first half when everybody kind of had their heads down, he was trying to rally everyone. He was actually showing intensity. He was actually trying to push players forward, which I'm going to give a lot of credit for because that's arguably even harder than contributing when the team has momentum to try and rally everyone up. And I think somebody said in the chat that Gallagher seems like more of a captain that we need right now than Reece, and I don't even disagree with that necessarily. Obviously, Reece is our best player, period, but who's the better captain? That's much bigger up for discussion, I would say. But in terms of Gallagher, I also think in terms of his final third, yes, it wasn't particularly refined, but I also feel like he's getting there. He was trying to contribute more, and even in this role, he was trying to link play, and when we were going forward, he would try and switch whenever he was on the right wing. And so I think things like that kind of go under the radar necessarily, that he kind of kept things ticking. And so I don't know. I just feel like I maybe 8 was a little bit too high considering the fact that I've been defending him for the last week, but I'm going to stick with it because I feel like just selling him would be the most idiotic thing ever in this current situation. But yeah.
I agree. And Max said it there as well. One of the biggest improvements from him,
exactly,
his first touch. Absolutely. And I want to bring up something as well on this topic of selling Gallagher and whatever else. Squawka released these stats. The best centre midfielders in the Premier League right now, based on Squawka's score, is Rodri with 78%. And second best, Conor Gallagher with 71%. And honestly, I mean, whether Poch wants to keep him or not, I don't really care. I don't really care about what Poch wants. But he's been our best midfielder this season. He's arguably been our best, maybe I shouldn't even say arguably. He's been our best player so far this season. Being willing to sell your best player when you are this bad, and I know people say, oh, him being our best player is the problem. While I get that, don't have a pop at Gallagher for that. Have a pop at Caicedo and Enzo and all these other lot that are not better than him. This is not Gallagher's fault that the other lot aren't better than him. So for me, I completely agree with you, Adash. It's utterly ridiculous to entertain selling him right now. Now, if you're in the summer and, the situation is potentially, slightly changed, maybe it's a different scenario if we're in super desperate need for financial fair play. As much as we shouldn't have put ourselves in a position where we need to sell a player when he's doing this well, that we all know wants to kind of stay, even though you hear things like he was a bit like Mount offered this kind of, an alibi type contract that he was never going to accept, even if it was only verbal. But also, I don't know, should never be sold in my opinion, unless you're getting like a ridiculous offer, like 60 million upwards. If you get offered 60 million upwards, I'd understand why you'd have to consider it. But anything below that, it's like, look how bad we are. Look how little stability we have. Gallagher is literally our most experienced midfielder, and people want to sell him. Like, you want to make us even less experienced. You people are stupid, honestly. Again, that doesn't mean you need to rate Gallagher. There's a difference between rating him, but thinking right now is a good decision to sell him. To me, stupid. Anyway, let's get to Enzo. Poor in that period that he played. I still think he didn't really play enough that we give him much of a rating up, and especially if he, felt so that he had to come off. So I'll give him an NA. But yeah, I want to touch on something that Bobby was trying to speak about earlier in terms of the positioning. The biggest issue that I have with Pochettino is how Frank Lampard managed to make Enzo look good. Even if the whole team was diabolical, Enzo still looked a good play under Frank Lampard. And Pochettino is managing to make Enzo look like the most average midfielder you'll ever see. And that is utterly disgraceful. I touched on it earlier already. He tried to play him as a 10 early in the season and it failed. Now he's trying it again. What are you doing? If you don't play an actual 10, just play a 4-3-3. Have Caicedo as a single 6, Enzo as like the more defensive kind of box-to-box 8, and then Gallagher as the more offensive 8. And that will work. But the problem is it doesn't work while you have a centre-back at left-back, because then Enzo needs to do so much coverage on the wide areas, which he doesn't have the pace for and doesn't have the energy for. It's ridiculous. All you need to do is play a left-back and then allow Enzo to do what he can do. But what's happening at the moment, he's trying to be a pressing dog up the pitch. Half the time is pressing as a second striker. Then he's also supposed to control the game. Then he's also supposed to score. Then he's also supposed to assist. But really, he's not really being able to do anything. Because literally, imagine Real Madrid playing Toni Kroos at 10. You wouldn't do that. And you also wouldn't let him play without an actual left-back when constantly has to defend the left-hand side, because that's not him. You need to not make a player like this do that, and you will see how great they are. But the way it is, it's a joke. It's a joke for me. But yeah, I guess because I want to get this done, obviously, if you want to say something on Enzo, please do. But I think an NA is roughly reasonable. Adash, anything you want to add on Enzo?
Nope, you hit the nail on the head.
There you go. Bobby, anything you want to add?
Play the man deeper.
Exactly.
His best attribute is his vision, and he needs a little bit of time and space to use it. If you're playing him as a 10, he's constantly surrounded, and he has to use agility and quickness, which he doesn't necessarily have. Just get him further back, and his game is in his mind. Where Gallagher's a really athletic player, and he can take advantage of his athleticism. But Enzo plays the game with his mind, and he just needs more time and space to be able to do it effectively.
I agree. I absolutely agree. One other thing I want to add to this. The problem is with Enzo playing the left centre mid and the right winger being Palmer, who doesn't have the pace and isn't the type of player to make runs in behind, and us not having a right back that does this as well. Hopefully Gusto can start doing that. That's also partly what's limiting Enzo's passing, in my opinion, because him being off the left, the diagonals to the right, they're just not on because Palmer doesn't make those runs and we don't have a right back. So that's also a real issue, in my opinion, the lack of runs in behind. Now, Jackson does it every now and again. Bro, he did it a lot today, often offside, of course. But still, I felt it gave us something that, I don't know, it's not like Jackson doesn't run, but I don't know, it seems less impactful than Mbroya does it. I don't know how that really goes, if I'm being perfectly honest. But anyway, shall we get to Cole Palmer? Took his penalty really, really well. Took the first one as well. Shushed the Newcastle fans. Big fan. Didn't think he was very good. Now, he tried to, make things happen. He tried to, take the game onto himself a little bit. But it just didn't really work out. Maybe I'm being harsh. I don't know. Let me get some stats up to see. But I mean, passing accuracy 81% isn't bad in this position, but accurate crosses 1 out of 7, that's poor. Ground duels, okay, 1 out of 3 as an attack is all right. The long balls, 2 out of 4, fair enough. What's the chat saying? What are people giving Cole Palmer? 6.5, 7, 6? What a pendo. I'd probably give him a 6 if I consider his pen. Because I don't think the actual 90 minutes performance was enough to get an average score. But with the pen, maybe I just about give him a 6. Just about. Adash, what about you? Do you think I'm harsh? Do you think I'm fair? What do you think?
For me, I'm actually going to go a little bit lower. I'll go for a 5.5, a 5 for the 90, and then a 5.5 because of the pen and also just shushing the Newcastle fans. But I think overall, we've seen in the last couple of games his output and just his overall quality has kind of dwindled because he's not able to have as much of control over the game as he has in previous games. I think this is a kind of game where I would expect him to kind of have a little bit of magic and create those moments, especially when we're playing against a team that has basically 8 men in the box. Those are the times. And today, for once, we actually played 2 strikers. So those are the kind of times that I'm assuming, okay, you can beat a man or 2 and then try and cut it back to somebody who's going to be in the box. But it didn't really happen for him. I agree with you that he did try, but I don't know. I just didn't come off for him today. I would have loved to have seen Noni on the right just to see what he would have done as an option off the bench, but that wasn't to be.
He also used all 5 subs today, to be fair.
Yeah. And he took the penalty. So I guess in the end, I was glad he stayed on for pens because. Yeah.
But you could have just pushed him to the 10 and still left him on and still brought. I mean, obviously by the end, Sterling was just on the right wing, I guess. But yeah.
But yeah, I'll give him a 5.5.
All right. Bobby, whereabouts would you go for Cole Palmer today?
I thought he was a 5.5 until the pen. I was same thought process as you. I was feeling 5.5, but then when I thought about the pen, I'm like, okay, that was a clean pen. Push him up to a 6. I think he's our player of the year so far. I think it's Cole Palmer. Then
that is also valid. Yeah, him and Gallagher, I would say. Yeah.
But yeah, today was not his best performance for sure. That he was kind of held in check.
But he's what, 21? Of course, that's what happens when
you can't put in an 8 every game.
Every day.
Yeah, can't put in an 8 every game. So I'm not going to slag him or anything. I just thought, not his best game today, but good pen.
There you go. We go to Raheem Sterling, 0. No, I'm joking. But for that dive, stop diving, man. This is what, in the second time in 3 games that he got booked for diving? Stop it. I know Gallagher also dived. I know. But the Gallagher one just seemed different because Gallagher couldn't get the ball anymore. Sterling could have just decided to fall over instead. Gallagher was like, fuck, I'm not getting this ball. Let me try and get a pen. I know it's still not right to dive, but at least I understand the thought. Sterling just like, flop. Like, go to a fucking diving pool, not on the football pitch, man. Do you know what I mean? Should have scored first half. Don't know how he didn't manage to put that in. A man that has 181 goal contribution in the Premier League. How he's sometimes so incapable in front of goal, baffling. But he did also make things happen in terms of trying to, go through players. But then again, did we look better once he was off and replaced by Mudryk? Yes. Was he worse than Palmer? Probably not much in it in the 90. Just, both trying to influence the game in different ways. Both kind of failing at it, but he missed more chances. He only won 1 out of 10 ground duels, 1 out of 4 dribbles only, 0 out of 4 accurate crosses. You know what? He's going low. I'm giving him a 3. Is that too low? I don't know. I'll let you go, Bobby. Tell me what you think. Bloody hell, 6.
Yeah, what? 6? How are we giving Sterling a 6?
1 out of 4 dribbles. How is anyone giving him a 6?
He missed like 2 big chances, like 2 legitimate chances. He rolled one wide, and then another one he took forever on the ball in the box and shot it right at the 2 defenders and the keeper. It went right at them. He didn't even have any accuracy on that shot from the box in the first half. Yeah, for me it was a 4. Story of his, like, this guy, he gets into good positions a lot. Like he is, but he doesn't execute when he's in those good positions. And the dive, he's right up there with my least favorite player in Chelsea shirt ever. Like Liverpool, man. He's a Liverpool Man City player. He's not a Chelsea player. Yeah. It just gives me yuck. Like I'm not a big fan of his, if I'm honest. But yeah, I just thought, it was dangerous at times today, but it doesn't come off as into anything productive so much of the time, and he loses the ball a lot. And I just there's the one breakaway he had that he rolled it into Nkunku. He put that pass a little too far. It wasn't right, in the path of Nkunku where he could have a chance on goal. Like just these little things that he constantly does that just drives me insane. Yeah, to me, he wasn't good today.
Nkunku is dream debut. Instead, he did what he did.
He put too much on it. And rolled it wide.
Maybe a 3 is a bit too harsh for me. I get it, but like sometimes, maybe I'm a bit lenient with like a Disasi or a Cobalt out of position, and like I am sometimes a bit lenient with younger players. There is literally nothing to be lenient with Raheem Sterling for. He knows the league. He's the most experienced player that's not a centre back that we have in the team. He won everything. He's been a young player, coming through at a young side like Liverpool. He's been an experienced player that's won everything. He's been in every position. But he's still equally as inconsistent as every other player. But the others have the excuse of being young. He doesn't. And he's no less inconsistent than they are. And that's why I'm a little bit, more critical of him sometimes. Because
me too. I agree with you. I feel the same way. He's going to be 30. Like
exactly.
Cole Palmer's 21 years old.
We need to just be better at this point. Like I know, obviously, the rest of the team being inconsistent makes it difficult for everyone to be consistent. Because, like, look at Thiago Silva, as great and as experienced as he is, he's also has his moments. So if it happens to him, it can happen to anybody. But that I also criticize Thiago Silva for it. So why shouldn't I criticize Raheem Sterling for it? But there you go. You give him a 4. I give him a 3. I'll stick with it. Be harsh and ask Ardash. I'm a poet. I didn't even know, mate. What would you give him?
I'll give him a 4 as well. I mean, that chat from Joel where you reminded me of that missed pass to Nkunku, that got my blood boiling. I mean, I shouted several expletive words at the TV after he made that pass, because I mean, people were talking about how he makes those chances, but like he's a winger, we expect him to make some of those chances, and like fair play if you
He's one of
do.
the best
But
wingers
then,
in Premier League history, numbers wise. Of course, we expect this from him. Do you know what I mean? Like people
but then he balls it up. Yeah, but then it's also a negative. If you're praising him for making the chance, you also have to be critical when he messes up the chance that he creates himself. And so to that end, I feel like he definitely should be doing better, even though he is the one creating the chances. And even then, in the second half, I felt like every time he saw somebody taller than 5'6", he would just pass the ball back. I did not see him with that same level of intensity and aggression in the second half, when that's the point where you should continue to try and attack the defense and try and continue to have those chances. To be fair, the shot that Guimaraes saved, I don't know how much more he can do, but I mean, but still,
straight in the middle of the goal. If it wasn't Guimaraes, it would have been a goalie that saved it for me.
That's also true. Yeah, I feel like a 4 is fair. I feel like we have the right to be harsh with Sterling because of his pedigree and because of the fact that he needs to be finishing off those chances regardless.
There you go. Bobby, I know you need to go. Do you want to give out some last ratings before you head off for a few players, or do you need to go like ASAP?
I don't feel it's.
You can run through like Jackson and Mudryk and maybe.
I want to talk on Mudryk. Mudryk had the game-tying goal, excellent pen. He also put that incredible cross in the Gusto that Gusto then sent back over that just Gallagher just didn't quite get to. For me, Mudryk won us the game more than Petrovic. Petrovic had a great save at the end, but the reason why we were made penalties was because of Mudryk. And I've been harsh on Mudryk a lot, but I try to be fair. Like, he won us the game today. In my opinion, he deserves the highest rating. Like, for me, he was at 8.5. Like, game tying goal. He was pretty solid otherwise. He was still a little slow on the ball here or there, but I want to touch on him. I thought Brora did a lot of good running. Jackson was not the best today. We'll just say that. But I appreciate you having me on, bro.
Hey, Bobby, I appreciate you very much. Have a good rest of your day, and we'll chat to you soon, okay?
Yeah, you guys have a good one.
Have a good one. Cheers, man. We move on from Raheem Sterling with a 4 in total, I suppose. Jackson. I don't really know what I made of him today. Made some good runs early on, that when Dizazi found him, for example. Then obviously kind of it's a bit up for debate. Did we play 2 strikers once Broja came on, or did Jackson play left wing? Because obviously Sterling moved over to the right once Jackson came on. Once Broja came on, and Palmer was kind of a bit more of a 10 probably. So then, unless Palmer was certainly not on the left, but Sterling was clearly on the right. So by that logic, to me, Jackson was the left winger, not a striker. Which arguably is his more natural position anyway, to be honest. Looking at some stats, 2 out of 4 ground duels, 1 out of 1 dribbles, 1 out of 1 accurate long ball. I don't really know. Passes, 23 out of 27. 5. I don't think he was necessarily an issue today. I still don't like his movement, but I don't really think he was an issue. But I still think he can do more, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, for me, if I could give him a rating that isn't a number, I would just say like meh. That's all his performance was.
Hence the 5. Like average is 6. Meh, I think, is kind of 5, and anything lower than 5 is then poor. At least that's how it is in my mind.
Yeah, I feel like he had the one good chance with the spin turn and the shot that was barely wide.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, just at this point, just expecting more. I still have faith. We still need to be patient, and he's shown a lot more promise than like Havertz did at this time when he came to play for us. And I think he's done decent so far, all things considered. But I don't know. I felt like today he could have been more, but he wasn't. And especially with the 2 strikers up top, I felt like maybe that messed with his rhythm and maybe that messed with his positioning a little bit, because he wasn't as sharp with his with his play. There was one point where he had a very easy pass to Sterling at the edge of the box, but he decided to try this like weird back heel. And today he was on this weird like skill move, like skill move season, which I wasn't the biggest fan of, especially when we were losing.
Sui's and trying to be Neymar, just play football. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. But yeah, at the end, I'll go.
And also,
go for.
can I say one last thing?
Mhm.
Jackson needs to stop beefing players. Like
Yes.
Colwell stamped on the guy's foot with his studs, and the guy's injured on the floor. Fair enough. Fair enough. If you've ever had someone jump onto your leg with their studs first, you're in pain then. And Jackson tries to lift him up. As soon as like Lascelles comes over, he starts beefing. I'm like, bro, we committed a foul. There's no need to beef anyone right now. Sure, if someone has a go at you, or like if after the Bruno foul on Martin, the way Mudryk, sure, in situations like that, if you're unfairly treated or whatever, sure, react. But there's nothing unfair here. Why are you beefing everyone? Just calm the fuck down, bro.
Especially after Pochettino has apparently talked to you about your discipline and the fact that you've already been suspended for getting so many yellow cards.
Yeah.
I just don't see the need for you to get involved. Especially like it's not like you're an incredible player and we're an incredible team and they're like these like little tin pot club trying to like force their way to beat us. I think that's also pretty frustrating and I'm kind of getting over it. It's becoming more like petulant than anything. I just want to see him play football and be good at football first, and then these things are kind of way on the side.
Exactly. But you did agree with a 5, didn't you?
I'll go for a 4. So yeah,
Fair dues. Fair enough. Give him a 4 then. We did all the starters, so I suppose next one on the agenda is Armando Broja. Offside a few too many times. Now I will be honest here. I saw the tweet by Simon Johnson, for example, and also loads of people in the chat talk about it. This offside goal that he scored. I saw him be offside. I didn't see him score. I don't know if I just didn't look or if my TV cut away for some reason. I have no idea, but I didn't see him score. It's a bit weird. So that's a bit strange. It's a tough one because I thought the way he ran, the way he tried was actually good, but some of the runs were just a bit early. Now, there was the first one, his first offside of the day. I think Palmer took too long to pass. I don't think that is on Broja in that case. Like, you hold your run only ever so long. You need to go at some point, right? You're getting closer to goal. The defender knows you're going to go at some point. The pass needs to come earlier, in my opinion. But a few of the other ones, he should have obviously done better. There's some people that sort of reacted to that over-the-top ball from Thiago. It's like, what is he doing? What is he? Bro, he just took a 50-yard over-the-top ball on the volley, and people are having a go at him for not what? Like, what? Like, what? Who was it? Sterling last season missed the ball when he tried to volley it. What? And now I don't know, what the fuck, bro? Anyway, I'll give him a 6. I don't think he did enough to get anything higher than that. Maybe I could go 5 or 5.5, but I like him, so I'm going to say 6. What would you give him?
Yeah, I mean, to me, I feel like I did see the goal go in, and for me, like, that goal should have stood if Cole Palmer had actually played the ball on time, because that was also like a pretty good finish with the chip at the end. But I think especially in terms of that ball, I think that was actually the correct technique, in my opinion, with how to approach that, because Thiago Silva had a lot of backspin on the long ball that he played. And so if Broja just tried to put his foot through it, it would have gone over the bar like by a mile. So the only way was for him to try and control it. So I guess in the end, the fact that he didn't get like the right connection on it was just kind of chance. But if he had put his foot through it, he would have either missed the ball or got it even further off target. Apart from that, like you said, he made a lot of runs. I think today, for once, we actually saw a lot of those balls in behind being played, and that's because Broja was being very proactive and actually making those runs. Yeah, exactly.
Literally. But maybe like Rooney or Drogba, but
yeah.
the best ones, not like your average 22-year-old academy graduate that's just properly
come back for an ACL
injury. Like, hold your horses.
Yeah, and I mean, for all the people talking about the fact that Broja is so much worse than Jackson, I'll just say, I mean, also take into account the fact that he's just come back from injury and Jackson has significantly more minutes than him. And for Broja, those minutes are going to be exponentially more important because he's also gaining match fitness and getting back into the rhythm of playing in the Premier League after not being there for almost, I think it was exactly a year ago, right, that he got injured in that friendly.
Much,
yeah. I'll go for a 6 again, but I think it was a good performance. No, it wasn't a good performance, but it wasn't a bad performance by any stretch either.
There you go. Now, I saw someone say officially, Conor Gallagher was given man of the match. I saw someone comment that for them it was Malo Gusto, and maybe because he only played the second half, maybe I can't give him quite man of the match. But honestly, he was brilliant. He was absolutely brilliant. To start on the left, obviously playing the right at the end once Martin had come on for Dizazi, he was fantastic. The pace he showed, I don't know. Obviously, he was injured now for a little bit. Maybe he was already playing with a bit of a knock or issue before that because he looked so sharp and fast today. Much sharper and faster than he did the last 2 games before he was out. So really good. 92% passing accuracy. Okay, crosses only 1 out of 5, but 2 out of 3 completed dribbles, 5 out of 7 ground duels. And I genuinely thought he was one of the reasons why we were so much better in the second half. I thought he was a serious game changer. And I'll give him an 8. Genuinely, I thought he was really, really good. And I'm excited to see more from Gusto, especially now with Reece obviously being out for God knows how long, still undecided whether he will have surgery or not. Maybe I should even, like Joel, give him a 9. Honestly, you know what? Maybe we should. I say 8.5. I won't go quite for a 9, but I'll say 8.5. What would you give him, Adash? Did you also think that he was one of the main reasons why we changed the game? Let's not forget, he's only 20. Like, he's one of the youngest ones. He's so good, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna go all the way for the 9. I think he's a serious player. He just oozes so much quality at that age. I think it's just incredible. The fact that we got him while having Reece James, that's going to be one of the most underrated signings for us when we look back. Obviously, he hasn't played as much, which is why we can't say he's necessarily the best signing of the Bully Clear Lake era. But I think when we look back, especially with
maybe Badiashile, but obviously Badiashile didn't help his case today.
Yeah, but I think Gusto's definitely going to be up there, especially in terms of like quality. Maybe not how much he's contributed to Chelsea, but in terms of just like pure quality, he's just so good. I think. He definitely changed the game. Even from the left, he had a lot of good dribbles, that kind of taking it to the edge of the box and then kind of trying to cut it back. There was a couple instances. And then he was the one who crossed the ball for the goal that Mudryk scored eventually. So, I mean, I can only say positive things for him. And yeah, the fact that he's only 20 is kind of mental. I need to see him start, though. I mean, the fact that he was able to play 45 minutes, he's been in training for a long time, so I need to see him start again.
Because obviously we play Tuesday now, and our next game is Sunday. You'd assume he can start, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. And I really hope he does.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Regardless. I saw a comment here. Who was it? Khalid, I think. Just hoped that he played right back from the start of the second half. But how? He came on for Colwell. Unless you put Badiashile left back and moved Dizazi to centre back and then played Gusto right back, how are you going to do that, right? So like that wasn't really an option. Unless you could have brought Martin on for Colwell and then played him at left back, but you couldn't really bring Gusto on for Colwell and play him right back. I don't really see how that could have worked. Anyway, pick up yourself, Gusto. And bro, we finally got the debut. We got a whole standing ovation. Everyone was buzzing and Nkunku came on. Now, did he play particularly well? Not at all. Passed it off the pitch, didn't really do much, looked very hesitant, looked a bit scared to get injured, maybe a bit overwhelmed by the situation. But I think purely the fact that he came on was one of the reasons why we still came back in this game. Because I think it lifted everyone, it lifted the stadium, it lifted the players, it lifted the vibe and the atmosphere and the belief. Even if he didn't really do it, and even though he could have scored if Sterling passed him properly, yeah, it wasn't great. I mean, he played, how many minutes did he play?
25, I think.
Yeah, a bit over 20 even. So we probably should give him a rating, but I almost don't want to, because if I do, I probably have to give him like a 5. I don't think he did even enough to get a 6, if I'm honest, if we're being purely rating what I've seen. But then again, you know what? I changed my mind. Give him a 6 because it was his first game back after an age-long injury. So I'll just give him a 6 anyway. But yeah, it was fantastic. But obviously, there's more to come. So I'm glad that he got it out of the way. And let's not forget, did he play longer than Enzo? No, he actually played less than Enzo. But let's not forget, he also scored a penalty. I forgot. So he's definitely getting that 6. That's what I'm giving him. What about you, Adash?
All I'm saying is if Sterling actually made the correct pass, I know for a fact Nkunku is finishing that chance, so I'm giving him an 18. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, definitely things to improve on. To be fair, he wasn't involved in play too much, so there wasn't too much to go off of in terms of giving him a rating. If I had to, I would probably give him a 6 as well. good composure to kind of have that penalty. And let's not forget, this is his first competitive game for Chelsea ever. So, I mean, things will only go up from here for him. I have a lot of faith. So,
absolutely. Absolutely. And as we go to Mykhailo Mudryk, obviously, Bobby already gave him his rating of 8.5. Let me bring up the other photo on screen because boy, was that a big moment. Like the fact that he also happened to celebrate with Nkunku, like literally, portrays the day better than anything else could. Nkunku's debut, Mudryk scores a last-minute equaliser. Like, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Now, sure, it was luck that the Trippier miscontrolled the ball with his chest, but Mudryk was there, came right in, hit it first time into the bottom corner. Phenomenal finish, by the way. People will underestimate it and not give it the credit it deserves, but phenomenal finish. Bobby touched on that cross to Gusto as well. That Gusto laid a cross and Gallagher nearly scored. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Sure, he had one bad cross as well, but brilliant. Now, Poch said before the game, he started 4 games in a row. We need to manage his load a little bit. Maybe that is the case. He obviously had a few injury niggles early in the season. So maybe that is fair. But he needs to be back in the starting 11 on Sunday. Absolutely has to, especially on the back of this now. I'm not sure yet what rating I will give him, so I'll ask you first, Adash, but what a picture, huh?
Yeah, I mean, that picture says it all for me today. I think, just phenomenal from him. I think that finish is going to go so under the radar because not only was that first time with the keeper right next to him and defenders closing him down, but he was running at full speed to get that ball. So to go at full speed, which at his speed is like incredible, and then to be able
to... it wasn't quite full speed, but yeah.
I feel like for him it was almost full speed, the way he sprinted to the ball.
Maybe I need to see it back. Maybe you're right, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, even then, even if he was just sprinting normally, the fact that he had the composure to kind of settle himself and then first time tuck it into the bottom corner, I think absolutely lovely. And then to back that up with the penalty, I was so ready for him to miss the penalty. I'm not even gonna lie. I was just ready for the slander and everything to happen if he missed the penalty.
But he smashed the top corner.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but
no, wait, he didn't smash top corner. I think he rolled it in the bottom corner. He rolled it. I love a rolling penalty. Since Jorginho days, I love a rolling penalty. To be fair, Hazard did them every now and again as well. But what rating?
He just walked up. I'll give him. You know what? I'll give him a 9. I think.
You know what, bro? I agree.
Yeah, he made just as much of an impact as Gusto, if not more. So yeah, I think a 9 for him. I think things will only go up from here, as what I'm hoping for Mudryk and for Nkunku as well. Going back to the picture you showed.
Absolutely, Martin. I know we played the same amount as Mudryk, but obviously, other than getting taken out by Bruno, I don't really remember anything, if I'm being perfectly honest. So I just leave him with nothing. Let's just keep it simple. But yeah, I'm glad to see that he played with Colwell injured. Maybe we'll see Martin at left back on Sunday. So there's a chance. There is a chance. We finish it off though, mate, with a rating for Pochettino. I mean, you can say the subs worked in the sense that Gusto came on and was great. Mudryk came on and scored. I guess I also like the fact that, okay, Enzo had to come off, but he didn't. I mean, we didn't really have any midfielders on the bench, did we? So maybe didn't really have that option anyway. But he could have just brought on Mudryk and put Palmer where Enzo played. But he instead went for Broja. Bro gave us more physicality because he felt that was the issue in the beginning of the game against Newcastle, which I think is valid. But I still think the way he thinks he wants to use Enzo, the way he does what he does with the fullbacks, even if some of it is obviously forced due to all of the injuries, like we have 2 left backs injured and, well, 1 right back injured and the other right back not fit to start today. Because until that equaliser by Mudryk, I was ready to slander Pochettino all day. Like the thumbnail I had ready was like tactical disaster class and a picture of Pochettino. I'll give him a 5. Maybe it's harsh, and maybe it's because I don't like him and everything. Maybe, but I'll say 5 because, like I say, in the end we won. His subs worked, and some of the questionable decisions in terms of lineup are also forced upon him due to the injuries. Do you know what I mean? So I'll say 5. What would you give him, Adash?
I think a rating is difficult. I'll probably go higher. I have a little bit more positive sentiments towards Pochettino today. Maybe a 6. But I think, like you mentioned, I think it has in large part to do with the goal and with the nature of how the game actually went. Because before the goal, I was very mad. I think the fact that like all of those subs, yes, they did make a difference, but I think like all of those subs were necessarily enforced, and those subs only covered up his mistakes.
When he would have brought Gusto on if Colwill didn't get injured.
Yeah, and those subs only covered up his mistakes, which were playing Colwill and Disasi at fullback, and then playing Enzo at the 10.
Mudryk on earlier maybe would have won in 90. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly, but I don't know. I feel like today there wasn't much of a plan, and especially in the first half, I think when things got really dull, that's when it really showed the fact that we have no attacking pattern. We have no pattern of play. It's just kind of passing the ball around with no intensity and no actual rigor or like passion. And so at that point, that does fall on the manager at least a little bit, because when you're playing against a low block, you need to have some kind of systematic way to try and break them down, which we didn't have today at all, or especially in the first half. And I think that's down to him. So I think people going with like a 9, I think you're way off the mark, to be honest. With all
did anyone say 9? I didn't even see that.
Joel did.
Joel did? 9? My God. You must love Pochettino. Do you love all Spurs legends, Joel? But yeah, there you go. A 5 from me, a 6 from you, 5.5 overall. At the end of the day, I still think it will happen how I said it. I think in February, March time, Poch will end up getting sacked. And until then, we just have to handle it. And because I expect that, why should I get on board with him? Do you know what I mean? Hey, maybe he proves me wrong. And Ritz put a comment here. When everyone's fit, I'm watching Poch very closely. Have you not got to know our medical staff yet? We will never have everyone fit. That will never happen. So yeah, you can drop your binoculars for a while, because that he will get sacked before we have everyone back fit. I know that, even if it's not this season. But yeah.
All I'm saying is we could hypothetically pull a reverse Spurs and sack Pochettino before the Carabao Cup finals, get Jose in, and then win the final. That sounds good to me.
Let's fucking do it. Let's fucking do it. Oh, imagine that. We sack Poch because of the bottle job, and we bring Jose in literally for the final. It would be the greatest thing that ever happened. Oh, my days will be beautiful. It will be beautiful. But ladies and gentlemen, it's about time we wrap this one up. It's 1:15 in the morning for me on a Wednesday. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap this one up. Like I say, subscribe if you haven't already. That will be massively appreciated. Hit that like button. Become a member if you want to. Link is down in the description. Check out my social media down below as well. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for watching. Up the Chelsea, upwards and onwards. A semi-final it is. And we'll see you next time.